the 2017 World Series has just recently been confirmed as tainted by Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball, this is just a recap. You don't have to look at me crazy. I'm not Major League Baseball. I did not conduct the investigation. Major League Baseball, as per Commissioner Manfred, and conducted an investigation where they found that there was an elaborate scheme of sign stealing that took place for the Houston Astros, orchestrated, and I feel like this part is really being downplayed, orchestrated primarily by the players.
Right.
Facilitated by bench coach Alex Cora, who is really getting thrown under the bus on this thing. And the fallout was...
And Carlos Beltran.
Yep. And the fallout was pretty serious. The fallout was, a $5 million fine, which seems like nothing for a team that's worth $1 billion, but that's the max that you can give. What's really big is that 2 years worth of first and second round draft picks, with as hot as the Astros drafted to get to this point of success. You see how important the draft picks are.
They really aren't, though, for them, because they would.
They're already there now.
Yeah, and they would be picking on the tail end anyway.
Yeah, but it's still picks. You never know.
And nobody.
There's a guy named Terry Miller that was available in the draft late.
Exactly.
Could have been a contender.
But you also have to have good scouts. So there's a lot of guys who fall through the wickets.
Yep. So, which means that it could be important, but either way it goes, we're just going over the fallout of the penalty.
But I digress.
And then they suspended their head coach for a year and suspended the GM and suspended the GM Jeff Luhnow for a year. To which the president of the team, owner of the team, oil man Big Jim Crane, who eats a lot of Angus beef and drinks scotch, decided. He said, "I'm going to the next level. I'm firing these guys." So a suspension isn't enough. Now, talk to me, because there's a fantastic article in the LA Times by Bill Plaschke, another friend of the OZone, about how not only did the Astros taint and cheat the World Series, they tainted LA sports history, because it was a 29-year drought for the Dodgers to win the World Series, which is now up to 31 years. And you furthered the narrative that Dave Roberts doesn't know what he's doing in October, that Clayton Kershaw should be on suicide watch in October. And he brought up some very interesting stats that I want to bring them up to you.
We'll bring him up because I haven't read his article.
Oh, okay. So in his article,
lay him out.
He says some really, really incredible stuff.
Okay.
He
Let me answer him as you go.
First thing he says is, this brings an end to the mystery behind why the Dodgers' three hottest pitchers at the time got jumped on only in Houston. Because he brought up a good point and said, well, Clayton Kershaw himself actually pitched the greatest game of his playoff career in Game 1. He went 7+, struck out 11 dudes, and gave up 1 earned run. He got to Texas. Between him and Brandon Morrow, who had given up 2 runs over 12 or 24 innings of relief.
Brandon Morrow, they just overused him though.
He'd only given up 2 runs.
They usually catch up with you eventually.
At which point they gave up 10 runs in 1 game between the two of them.
Sounds about right.
No, that doesn't sound right. And so that's what he said. And he had some really, really interesting, the way that he put it. It's worth the read in the LA Times, because he talked about how obviously there's no way to get the parade or even to give the Dodgers a championship ring. But he's saying that, which we also know will never happen, that the Astros should vacate their title and leave it open in the history books.
That's ridiculous.
The last piece that I want to go on before you go on your rant, because I'm not going on a rant. Astros Nation.
I'm not going on a rant. No rant here.
Is Jeff Luhnow was not having it. Jeff Luhnow got fired and threw everybody under the bus. First and foremost,
he had nothing to do with it.
He said, I had nothing to do with it.
I'm not mad at it.
He said, I didn't know about it, and I had nothing to do with it, and somehow or another, I'm ruining the legacy of my 30-year baseball career. With everybody who knows me knows that I have, if I have nothing else, I have integrity, because I'm with the teams when they lose, and I build them up to let them win. And now this is my legacy, when this was coordinated by the players and facilitated by the coaches. AJ Hinch actually says apparently what the investigation found was AJ Hinch was so far against this system, he knew about it. He went so far as to damage the camera that was the sign-stealing camera 2 different times throughout the season. And they went back and ran it right back up. That's how important it was for the players to have the advantage so that they could get over. Now go ahead and give us some MAGA and justify why it's okay for them to be morally corrupt.
No Maxi Priest and MAGA here. Maxi Priest and MAGA. No, I'm just saying that it is an unfair advantage for them to have or to know the signs or the pitch that's coming. It still does not help you hit the pitch, regardless of what all the hypocrites are saying, all the Major League Baseball players coming out and saying, oh, well, if I knew what was coming, I'd definitely spin on it. Listen, dude, the prime example of that is Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger knows what's coming to him in the playoffs, in big-time situations, and can't even make contact.
I disagree with that.
You disagree, but it's the actual fact. Cody Bellinger, you sit there in the stands and know how they're going to pitch Cody Bellinger. Why wouldn't Cody Bellinger know how they're going to pitch him? Not to throw it on Cody Bellinger, but what I'm saying,
you are kind of throwing it on Cody Bellinger.
No, it's not on Cody Bellinger
because Cody Bellinger actually balled in those games down in Houston.
He balled one game. He balled one game out of 4. So I'm using him as a frame.
He only played 3 games in Houston. He balled
one game in all of the World Series. One game.
He played well 2 games, but one game was the game that he really showed out.
Yeah, anyways. And I'm just saying that as a frame of reference, you can know what's coming because Cody Bellinger knows what's coming a lot of times, and you can't execute. Baseball is not like basketball or football. You're trying to hit a small ball with a round bat, even if you know you have to know the velocity, the location.
These are professionals, though.
We watch professionals on football right now all the time who drop passes, who don't hit jump shots, and now we're acting like that they're not flawed. They're flawed. It was a wrong thing to do. But for everybody, and you can say that it's tainted or whatever, but
if you look at the swings that they put on a lights out Brandon Morrow, Brandon Morrow was lights out up until Game 5 of the World Series. Brandon Morrow was lights out. You can check the numbers.
So what happened? So what happened to the Dodgers? What happened to the Dodgers this year against the Nationals?
What does that have to do with them stealing signs?
Because the Nationals jumped on their pitchers just like
that was 2 years removed from the scandal. You're giving me a whataboutism right now.
No, I'm giving you the truth.
What happened to what happened in '86 to Bill Buckner?
It went through the wickets, but the thing of it is that it didn't cost him the World Series. Everybody lives with this narrative that Bill Buckner called you the World Series. He didn't. That was another game and everything else. This is overrated. This is completely overblown. It's sensationalized, and everybody's acting like the Dodgers should get a layup. It's still, if you told
who's saying the Dodgers should get a layup?
Everybody's saying that the Dodgers got ripped off of the World Series. They didn't get ripped off the World Series. They still needed to hit the ball. They still needed to pitch. They needed to do everything that the Astros did. The Astros had an unfair advantage. I agree, but the unfair advantage we cannot ever come to a conclusion that it helped them win the series.
What you're saying is in direct contradiction with what you're saying.
Not really.
How can you have an unfair advantage and it not help you? You're talking about
if you can execute.
Alex Bregman. Yeah, nobody is questioning whether or not Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa,
and by the way,
Riel, and all of these guys can execute. They're Major League Baseball players. They can execute without help.
Sometimes
this is, of course, and that's the game. And what the problem is, if that's the case, then everybody in that series needed to know what Justin Verlander was going to throw. Everybody needed to know what Charlie Morton was going to throw. Everybody needed to know if that's what we're dealing with, then that's the only way to make it fair. It's in the past now. I'm not somebody who believes that they should give the rings back. It is what it is. I actually think this fallout is an actual major scandal. I think this is the biggest scandal in baseball since the strike and the steroid era. No, I think the steroids were bigger than this. But I think it's a very, very big scandal. The thing that I think that's a trip about this is
what you're tripping off of.
How about the idea that it was Mike Fiers who decided to out the whole thing?
Because he's on another team that he
can't. How about that? Nobody's bringing up any of the way that this got started, How about him deciding, well, you know what? Yeah, they do cheat down there. I know because I was there.
Right.
And then your man came on as well. Now, the most, and we talked about it on the pod, the most telling part of this whole thing was when Danny Farquhar came out and they have that video when he figured out the system.
Right.
And because honestly, I would think that if you're on a team that's doing that, that's that kind of thing that you take to your grave. So even when you get on another team or whatever,
you don't let the cat out the bag.
Yeah, unless you're about to pitch out there and you're like, hey man, we need to change sides up. It's it's blah blah blah.
Well, my problem is that these guys are talking about the unfair advantage. They come back and they want to tell on their other teammates or whatnot. I'm not going to say from little league, but from high school,
from little league,
everybody
in serious
competitions. Yeah. Everybody works to get an advantage. This is an advantage. Everybody steals signs and track pitchers to find out if a guy's tipping pitches or whatever. And
but all of that is totally different.
Yeah, but the only
footage.
The video footage is not even a problem with the video footage, more so than it is with them relaying.
Yeah.
While it's going on, that's
real time relays.
Exactly.
And the thing, like,
but what are the batting averages?
Watching the MLB network. Sorry, real quick. Watching MLB network, it's something that Cliff Floyd said that is real as a baseball player, no matter what level you're on. If you have the confidence and you can see, whether you use the Cody Bellinger example or whether you use any other example, guys get 2 strikes, guys get down in the count and this, that, and the other. They have to go with a more tepid approach. They have to go timidly to the opposite field. They have to do other stuff. You watch the Houston Astros dig in against, at that time, the best pitcher in the world in Clayton Kershaw, and they dug in. And he was still throwing 94, 95.
Well, let me ask you, riddle me this, Batman. Why was he effective early in the game, and then he wasn't effective later on in the game? He was
not effective.
He was early. He was effective in Houston. He was effective early in the game. He had a lead up until about the 5th inning.
No,
they actually jumped on him.
No, that's not. You
so
need to rewatch the thing.
So when did they jump on him?
Remember, they jumped on him in the 2nd and the 5th because the Dodgers jumped out. He gave up the lead. Then the Dodgers jumped way out. Like they put up like another 5 spot. And then he gave up the booty. He gave up like 5. And guys were teeing off. That good and well in 2000, from 2011 to 2017, that's not Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, but the thing of it is,
and Brandon Morrow couldn't get an out. He couldn't get 1 out. They jumped his ish. And ultimately the big problem that I have with it is just what you're saying. Everybody's trying to get an advantage. But there is a legal way to get an advantage. Nobody's mad at teams stealing signs.
Well, they are, but I'm not going to say that because that pitchers and teams are upset when they catch you stealing signs, and that usually means. And I've been on base throwing signs before and everything, and the pitcher will turn around to you on the bump and tell you, "Hey, man, you're going to get drilled in your head if you keep throwing signs. If you keep."
And that's the chance if you.
Yeah,
that's up to
but
you.
if these guys knew that they were throwing signs,
they didn't know. What are you talking about? They just found out.
No, the other teams always thought or insinuated. The Yankees talked about it. There's always
the only team that insinuated it said it directly, and Aaron Boone came out and said it directly and said, "Hey, you know what? It seems like there's a problem with signs in this place." And AJ Hinch downplayed the whole thing and said, "Yeah, see, our psychological game is working." And then when they played the Red Sox that year that they got cheated with the Mookie Betts call, Alex Cora said something about it, which now looks just unbelievable. And AJ Hinch responded again or something to that effect. Now they're saying that the punishment is going to be severe for Alex Cora. And I don't know what that means.
I heard him say that it's going to be severe, but then also I've heard him say that it can't be as severe because
he's not longer on the team.
Yeah, he's not longer on the team. You can't punish him. You can't punish the Red Sox for what he's done. And then, but
same with Carlos Beltran, huh?
Exactly. But they're also saying that he cheated. The Red Sox have been doing it now. So we have to wait till the smoke clears.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have to wait till the smoke clears to see if the Red Sox have actually been doing it, since he's supposed to be the person who incorporated it.
He's supposed to be the person that really
he's
put
incorporated.
It all together. He's the LLC times S Corp times C Corp. He's really Alex Cora
right.
LLC / Inc. Man, wow, that's a lot. Well, moving on to Major League Baseball, I mean, that's the only thing I really wanted to cover because that's the big news, other than the absurdity that the Colorado Rockies are trying to move
Nolan Arenado, and the Cardinals are wide open to it. They're like,
as they should be.
Yeah.
As they should.
They have the pieces to get it done.